Amid the directives by the Central Bank of Nigeria for commercial banks in the country to sell Forex freely at the market-determined rate, the Naira yesterday lost against the dollar at the investors and exporters window, exchanging at 702 Naira 19 kobo to the dollar. The market rate is set to be the willing buyer, willing seller arrangement. Now, this implies that Nigeria has eased its control over the Naira or of the Naira, allowing the local currency to freely float. A free floating exchange rate occurs when government allows the exchange rate to be determined purely by market forces. And of course, there is no attempt to ask the central bank to influence the external value of the exchange rate. Let's talk about this and some other bold steps being taken by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's led administration to address economic issues. And joining me to look at this to start with the new Forex regime and implications for businesses, and the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer at Dignity Finance and Investment Limited, Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu, joins me to talk about this today. It's good to see you, Dr. Ikechukwu. Good afternoon.
My pleasure.
Yes, I know that we've talked about this so many times, the FX issue and what we'd face as a country. But finally, that market is being opened to allow the forces of demand and supply dictate what plays out in that space. What is your reaction to this? Was this expected? Or do you think that we could still have sharp practices, round tripping, and all of those things that used to happen before now?
So, you know, we've been discussing this in the past, and we all agreed that we needed to merge or unify the exchange rate. This actually was going to reduce a lot of sharp practices, like you called it, arbitraging, and of course, all the practices going on in this market. Of course, we know a lot of people would buy at the government exchange rate and then sell at the foreign market rate, and the margin was so huge. We've never seen this level of margin ever before. And so a lot of people were using this opportunity to just clean out and do a whole lot of sharp practices. That is no more going to happen. Beyond that, of course, we know a lot of exporters have been so worried about exporting and receiving their monies through an e-window where they will be given any rate called government rate. That did not encourage exporters. It didn't encourage foreign direct investors. And so right now we're expecting that a lot of portfolio investors are going to come into this country because they bring in their money, they get the right exchange rate, not the one that they'll be given to, that will be given to them by CBN. So we are expecting that a lot of benefits are going to be derived from this merger that has taken place. So to answer your question, yes, I expected that this was going to happen, and it's a welcome development.
It's a welcome development. But what do you think? How do you think this will affect traders, dealers, those that buy goods from abroad, those that buy raw materials from abroad? Many say that we could see a shift in the start or in the early days, but later competition will take place and we'll see a normalization of this. But for me, I'm worried about the sources for the FX. Do we have enough sources at the moment? Diaspora remittances, sale of crude. You know what I'm talking about, Doc?
I do know. Just like you said, in the short run, this rate is going to be as high as 702 or 704, as the case may be. But I can tell you it's just because the expected inflows have not started coming in. In the long run, we're going to see the forces of demand and supply determining the rate, and competition also determining the rate. You know, so when that happens, we expect that the rates will start going down and will be driven by market forces. And once the rates are driven by market forces, a lot of people are going to be making a lot of efforts to bring in their own foreign currencies in order for them to have good value here. The implication for the traders and for importers for now is the fact that all those assets they used to have from government space to be able to buy at a cheaper rate. For us, making payments for PTAs and things like that, receiving monies and exchanging monies through PTA and things like that, making payments for school fees, of course, we know it's going to come at a higher rate right now. But implications, again, will be that we are going to stop the existence of people who would actually do no other business but just to do this level of arbitraging. And of course, we also expect that it's going to stabilize. It's going to stabilize everywhere, every transaction, and people are going to now, for certain, know that you can actually even negotiate your own rate on your own without anybody fixing it for you. There are other implications for the country, as a matter of fact. You know that with the rates today, all the government pricing have changed and determined by market forces. What it means is that even the amount in Naira we call our external debt would have increased, because right now it's going to be priced at the rate of the I&E exchange rate, and which means it's higher than what used to happen. So the external debt we have right now is actually going to be increased. Of course, we also expect that debt to GDP ratio is also going to increase by the time you use the right rates right now to check it. The revenue the revenue we're going to get right now is also going to be more, because you know that we can now get more when the government exchanges that. We're going to get more, so it is easy even to bridge the issue of deficit we have in our budget. In other words, we can actually get more, and that may reduce the deficit we have in our budget. So it's easier now for government to fund their projects because they're going to be pricing it in Naira at the current exchange rate, which actually gives them more value in Naira than before. So these are some of the benefits that will happen, and but there are some other flip sides. The flip side here is the fact that if in the short run the rate continues to rise or remains where it is right now, importation of petroleum products with the removal of the subsidy, importation of petroleum products may actually come in at a higher rate because there is no more government subvention and all those things that they used to enjoy. So if the rate is going to increase, that means the fuel pricing may actually go higher than what we have today, and that may not be good enough for the inflation rate, which is already going to run very high. So these are some of the things we expect to happen with this development. There are very positive sides, and there are a few flip sides that are going to be negative, especially in the short run.
So financial markets are reacting positively to this move by the president. You're attesting to that. Some will say that is this a vote of confidence in the new dispensation or no confidence in the old? What do you think is that change, that bold step that really has been taken at this time that is impacting so positively?
First of all, you know that portfolio investors keep watching, and they just watch until they see whether the transition between old administration to new, whether there's going to be any chaos. They have seen there is no chaos. And the antecedents of the present president, the current president, obviously will speak for themselves. And so the confidence is already beginning to build. And so that means there's a little bit of stability. Some people who feared that there may be some distortions and uproar and crisis are aware right now that there's no crisis, so they can actually invest. The singular fact that the market is going to determine the pricing of exchange rate means that people who want to bring in their money into Nigeria to invest can bring in the money that would have given them less before, will now give them more now. So it's coming in already, and so monies are going to come in. And so there's confidence that the capital market is going to be a major beneficiary of this. The money market will also benefit. And I can tell you, some other markets like the property market and all that are going to actually benefit because monies are going to flow in. that is a good development. That is one major good development that we expect that will happen with this merger.
Yesterday, we got inflation figures from the NBS. Obviously, everyone expected a shift, but we saw 22.41% and almost all ailing factors going up on the high side. What is your reaction, or how would you analyze this further for us?
Yeah, of course, like you said, you already mentioned it that it was expected, but we also expected that it would be more than this because two major factors that are going to determine this, at least in the short run. The pricing of petroleum products, which has shot up and is affecting virtually every price of every good and service. That on its own is enough to increase the inflation rate. Now, when you have people who used to get monies from a particular window at government rates before now going to get it at a higher rate, exchange rate, they are going to be importing at a higher exchange rate. That on its own is enough to increase the inflation rate. And so if you combine the two of them, we see that the inflation rate is expected to rise more than this. Where it's going to head to, we don't know, but it's expected that it's going to rise more because the factors and some other factors that we're even causing the increase. Factors like insecurity are still there, not being resolved. And some other factors, the cost of, like I mentioned before, petroleum products, those factors are there and they are going to continue to make our inflation rate to rise.
Now, before we wrap up this interview, yes, it's no more news that subsidy is gone. And the National Economic Council met yesterday, chaired by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, already stepping into action, getting around to see how they can manage all of the fallouts or all of the negatives of subsidy removal. In your thoughts, what would be the first step for them, or what do you think they should be talking around that table at the moment in trying to help people? We hear about planned increase in salaries. We hear about planned allowances to be given to civil servants. Or in all of this, which do you think needs to be put first?
If you remember what happened in the 70s with increases in salaries, I'm an advocate that workers should have good salary, but the impact again is going to have, it's just like you have been given a salary, inflation rate will take it away from you. That's actually what is going to happen when all those increases happen. For me, all I think we need to do is not to start giving allowances and pay all those monies that were paid in the last administration to people that you couldn't even identify. What I think we need to do is to make every Nigerian to have good access to funds, loanable funds, and the funds they can borrow to become good entrepreneurs. Monies for people who have genuine businesses, they should have access to funds that are going to have access to and going to do business. I don't expect that if you go and increase salary, even if you increase the salaries of civil servants by 100%, it will not remove the hardship that may be caused by removal of subsidy because prices of things will continue to go up because of inflation. So what we need to do is just to stimulate the economy through supply of funds and making those funds available for people who want to access them through credit and so that they can do business. And if this business is, these funds are accessed, the ripple effect of all those number of people accessing these funds will actually dovetail into a whole lot of opportunities. People can actually have some money to do small scale business and make have multiple streams of income that can actually add to their pockets. But to increase salary, no, if you increase the salaries of those people, what you're going to cause is just going to be inflation. That happened during in the 70s, like I said, when we remember Ugoji award that he gave, Ugoji award that was given, and every civil servant got 100% of their salaries. Inflation rate shot up, and that's what we expect to have if anything happens right now.
Well, it's a good way to leave it. I must say, I must thank you so much for making sense of this topic and letting us understand more what the unified exchange rate means, what it stands for, benefits for businesses, and of course, what the National Economic Council should do at this time. Thank you so much, Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu. We appreciate your time Dr. Ikechukwu is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Dignity Finance and Investment Limited. He's also a top member, executive member of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll talk some other time.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Thanks.